Hey guys. All right, I know there's nobody. I sprung this one on everyone. Trying to get on top of these lives. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to start out this one with the newest. There's just so much going on, and I still have 20 videos, which is 2 separate lives to go through. It's just been crazy. There's so much going on. And I've been trying to get on top of things here, and yeah. Noisy, be nice. Noisy's batting at the kitten. Hey, my little kitty. Noisy. Be nice to the baby. Okay. So what I'm gonna start out today with, it's probably gonna be in like 13 videos on this one, because I want to hit the highlights from yesterday. Because if I wait and I just write them down for another live, they're gonna be that much older. I got 20 videos to go through. Stop. Be nice. Actually, you know what? I think I'm just gonna try to do this over today and tomorrow to get these in. So we're gonna go to full spectrum. And hi, sweetie. Are you
Our
using a
citizens
big
stopped
timer?
asking questions
This
because
is my
they were
rescue
afraid of
baby.
being ridiculed or worse.
See, she's doing really
That's how
good.
people in power get
She'll be
away with
7
the things
weeks
that
old
they do.
today.
That's how a population gets
She's
trained
doing really
to
good. She
ignore
just
the
needs the
things
litter
that they
box.
should have their ears perking up about. But every week we are seeing
You're all
that
right,
yesterday's
honey. You're
impossible conspiracy story is tomorrow's admitted truth.
So we're gonna go to, I didn't even know when this was. It's going to hurt. This was probably at least a week ago. So there it is. This is going to hurt the government.
We have a very real problem that we are facing right now in every direction that
don't
you turn.
Stock up on food now. Here we go.
A very real problem that we are facing right now in every.
Oops.
Missing information, strange military encounters that we are seeing.
Turn you guys around.
Suddenly deciding what you are allowed to think. There's a very similar pattern emerging underneath it all.
I gotta go.
Maybe you've had the feeling lately where the official explanation that they keep giving you keeps changing, but somehow the conclusion that they're trying to lead
Peaches
you
is the one doing
stays the same.
I've seen
Whether
Patrick
it's the
do it.
Democrats
He
or
doesn't.
the
He hangs his
Republicans,
butt
they're
over
each
the outside.
converging
He's
on the
on the
exact
floor.
same goal. And that
There's a
goal
little bit on the outside
not
of it.
in your best. Look at what's happening around us right now.
Leave it there.
We are being told that everything
is
under
nitwit.
control. The economy is fine.
Go.
Energy is fine. Foreign policy running like a dream. The institutions are functioning just how they're supposed to, but almost every single day, another crack appears and somebody accidentally reveals what is actually happening behind the scenes. One day you're being told that sanctions are working just how they wanted them to. And then the next day we're hearing discussions about bringing back already sanctioned energy into the system because somehow the math that they said was working perfectly now is leading us into a Great Depression. They're telling the public one thing while they quietly prepare for another. They tell us that shortages aren't coming. Behind the scenes to secure energy supplies. They tell us that inflation is under control while families around us are still watching prices become unreachable. And then when things don't go according to plan, well, suddenly a villain appears. One day it's the oil companies, the day it's a foreign country, then it's information, and then it's somebody else's fault. Sometimes it's you, the people. The blame is always ready, and the explanation is always there for why you are to blame. And then you start looking at information itself. And that's where things get even harder to believe, because now we're entering into an era where very powerful people are not just arguing over policy, they're arguing over who gets to determine reality. And what we're seeing is that the fight is over who gets to decide on which facts you're allowed to hear. And I don't know about you, but I've researched a lot of history. And when governments are working together, aligning themselves with institutions and media organizations and the intelligence agencies and giant international corporations and groups, and they're all saying the same thing, whether it's hate speech or extremism or dangerous narratives, and all these things are happening at the same time, well, my ears start to perk up. The people that are demanding more authority over you today are probably not the people that you should trust with that authority. And once the digital ID is in place, the new world order, the currency mechanisms, once all of these things coalesce and exist, it will never go away until the day the new world rises up from the ashes of the old one that is burned down by the people. And while all of this is happening, we are watching crisis after crisis emerge. And these are raising questions and things in my mind that no one seems to be interested in answering. What about those files that had powerful people attached to them? What about government agencies that continue operating behind layers of secrecy? Intelligence officials that lie to you today, and then you get a glimpse of the reality tomorrow. Take the Iranian issue, for instance. Senator Bill Cassidy, he reportedly yelled at the US President Donald Trump during a Senate event this week, attacking Trump with 3 other Republicans as they voted in favor of war powers resolutions that limit the conflict in Iran. And that or to pay Iran $300 billion to have confronted Trump over the Iranian Memorandum of Understanding. And a source that was right in the lunch reported that Schnell added, and that same source also claims that Trump went after Senator Dave McCormick because he missed the war powers vote. The vote that was by 48 to 50. And according to those reports, Cassidy told reporters that, quote, I stood and said, you have not told the American people what's going on for months. Have not been achieved. And I want to know what. Now, another senator has said that the GOP meeting with Trump was not going well. He actually a cluster act, saying that Trump was absolutely mad over the event. And then we look over at other news where people are reported to be building bunkers across the country. Politicians, celebrities, and people just like you and me.
Well, I kind of have to get back.
The Texas-based bunker builder Ron Hubbard, he told reporting outlets that he currently has 50 shelters that are under construction, as there is a global fear that exists that is driving more families and more people underground. Has grown that anxiety that we are seeing World War III develop before our eyes. And of course, religious beliefs that there's about to be an end to America. There's a quote that says in the U.S., demand is strong too, especially among conservative Christians. Many people believe that we are in the end times.
We are.
Or we are at least.
We are absolutely in the end times.
He says that they think this
Susie, look at
generation
Oh,
will
you
see
missed it.
World War III
She was
and
climbing
some sort of
that leg.
cataclysmic
She
event.
did that.
They want to protect their families during those
Look at-
periods. There's definitely,
you
he says,
doing?
an driven more traffic. The new buyers
baby.
are not survivalists. And they have never even
Here's
thought
okay.
about purchasing a bunker before. Maybe they don't even have access to kinetic projectile tools. A lot of them never thought this was possible. But now he says that's all they can think about. And remember, he's building these systems and politicians and celebrities. These are their own personal escape mechanisms. He says,
You don't need to be
especially
up there.
in places that have experienced conflict,
There.
it's governments.
I don't know if Boots
Millionaires
does that or
and
not, but I know
billionaires.
Peaches and Patches both do.
Everybody wants a bunker.
I was
wants
really
to
irritated.
build
I
a
hate that.
Now, these are typically fortified underground systems. And
They
these
need to annoy
systems
you.
are designed as temporary protection mechanisms so that the people who need them during a nuclear fallout or a local war, maybe even just a long-term natural disaster or a pandemic or civil unrest, they will have access to somewhere safe. And the basic versions, he says, are just metal rooms that are buried deep beneath the ground, but elaborate ones have kitchens and bathrooms and a full medical facility, full doctors and surgery facilities. They have entertainment spaces. They basically look like something out of the game and show Fallout. But they start at $25,000, and that's far outside of my reach. The
Same.
luxury bunkers, he says,
Oh, I bet
started around $500,000. And high-end buyers are adding independent power systems. Large, long-duration battery banks,
Look at my
full
mouse.
water supplies, food grown
Mwah.
rooms. And some of them even have shooting ranges.
You guys are so cute.
He says if you could put it in a house, you could put it in a bunker.
You're adorable.
Now, in other news that we are seeing, it's starting to look like Americans' decision to take out the hostile Iranian administration has soured the American position across the world. Nasser Hassan al-Sheikh, he's a businessman, former UAE government official, and current economist. He says that multiple Gulf leaders have little choice but to work with the United States of America, but given the security assistance that is offered by Washington, they all feel like America missed the chance. That includes the use of Patriot missile defense systems that were bought from the USA, which the UAE has used in addition to the terminal high altitude area defense systems. He says, in all honesty, is there really any other choice? The US does
I'm gonna share this.
leading global superpower. And we really don't know what's going on through the mind of Donald Trump when he started this war. But we have seen that there are repercussions.
Hi, baby.
And he says in a warning,
Hi,
maybe even a
baby.
final one, there has
Ow.
not been
Stinker.
and there will not be a final
Hi,
knockout.
honey.
Well, folks, while I gather today's survival tip, I want you and your family to take a quick moment and hear from Chapter. This episode of Full Spectrum Survival
Be
is brought to us by you,
nice.
the viewer,
She's a baby.
and by Chapter. One of the largest mistakes that families make is waiting too long to handle important things. Preparedness is not just about what is happening in the world right now. It's also about making sure that your family and the people that you care about are covered in the future. For many Americans, our group members included, Medicare planning is one of the largest and most stressful parts of that process. Chapter compares plans.
Be nice.
They help simplify the system so that you and your family make
Stinker.
informed decisions without confusion. If you're already on the best plan, they're going to tell you. There's no pressure. It's completely free. Most calls take under 20 minutes, and you can call them at 610-900-4081 or use the link
Yes.
below.
He's got
But I do
today
see
off.
happening
He has
right now
to work
around us
tomorrow,
is
but he has
economic
today off.
collapse.
But I have to work.
Everything costs more,
So,
but our wages are not going up. Maybe you're in a unique part of the economy that has access to government money, and maybe your wages are going up, but across the board, they're not. And then that economic collapse across our country and across the world, it doesn't really happen all at once, but that's what's happening right now. It usually unfolds through a series of small failures, that then reach a tipping point is a rising of prices, disruptions to the supply chain, a complete decline of American purchasing power, business closures, bankruptcies, foreclosures, car repossessions, tighter credit, and growing unemployment. And this is each one of these small events is starting to reinforce the next, making this a point that no one can turn back from. By the time that our non-prepared brothers and sisters realize what is happening, they're already competing with all of the other unaware, all of the other people who are still, I guess you would say, asleep at the wheel. And they're going to be competing for food, medicine, water, and essential supplies. So what you and your family can do is start to stock up on that right now. Have a little bit of extra, whether it's multivitamins, because the access to a well-rounded diet becomes limited. Aspirin for people who need some blood thinning. Antibiotics that you can get in small amounts. Whatever you can do to get ready with extra is something you don't have to scramble for or try to barter and trade for in the future. And that will help you and your family, and maybe even your friends who are asleep at the wheel, be a little bit better prepared when the final one comes. Hey, you're watching Full Spectrum Survival. Please make sure that you share this video off-site. X.com, hype it. From my family to yours, please stay safe and keep watch.
All right. So there's that one. Yeah, I'm just gonna try to
very real
run through these. I'm really gonna try to, verse with you guys on what's going on. That one. Red alert, nuclear countdown. Russia just drew a red line. America put out notice. Enemies are moving. So, this was, I don't know how many days ago.
I've been warning you since the beginning that you don't need some sort of high-dollar purchase
9 days ago
projectile tool to cause damage and violence to other people. And now we're starting to see a rash of vehicular attacks across the world. Look at this video as this individual all around LA took a 2-hour rampage, running over people, chasing them down. I'm not going to show the actual video footage of the people being hit because YouTube wouldn't like that. But just look at this. The police are speaking on it. There's some of the chase. This guy just took what could be a rental vehicle and attacked people. We have to keep our wits about us all around the world.
If Iran makes a decision, if its leadership makes a decision that they want to be a country instead of a revolutionary movement that exports terror, they're going to have an opportunity to do incredible things in Iran. I'm not promising you that that's the choice they're going to make. I'm saying if that's the choice that they make, then there will be opportunities, and those opportunities could include investment. As you've seen other countries in this region benefit from investment, from foreign direct investment. It won't be our investment, it won't be our government money. But I think that is something that's going to happen on progress made on a host of other security issues that have to be.
They keep screwing around because we're holding on to what, 300, 500, 800 billion dollars of Iranian money. We made all those sanctioned events, and they're saying that they're not giving Iran money, but they are giving them money because it's like the IRS taking extra money from you and your taxes. If they give that back to you, that is the IRS because they have taken legal hold of your tender, giving it back to you, even though it was your money to begin with. So we're talking about legal possession here. And for the United States of America to lie to the American people and say, we are not paying Iran, it's really just their money to begin with, that's an admission of defeat. And it's an admission by our U.S. government that we weren't able to finish a job we started. And so you're seeing the entire coalescence of the Vietnam War and the Iraqi War and all of Afghanistan all boiled down into a couple of weeks. We started a job and we couldn't finish it. But what I really think is happening is we're setting up a honey trap. We're giving Iran every political way out.
Okay.
Look, come to the table, work as a diplomatic unity, work together to show that you're not just some savage nation in some Middle Eastern country. You're not willing to shut down the entire world's fertilizer grid. You're not willing to sow chaos around the world. You're shutting down your proxy terror elements, and you'll be rewarded for being a good boy. Now, America could have went in and finished the job. Why we didn't is a real question to me, and maybe you guys know and you can let me know down in the comments. But as Marco Rubio discusses here, these events will only happen if Iran adheres to international order.
Foremost, if possible, can the U.S. and allies guarantee navigation, freedom of navigation in the state?
Well, that's the law. It's an international waterway. No country is allowed to charge tolls or fees on an international waterway. That's existing international law. That's the way it is in international waterways all over the world, and that's the way we expect it'll be here. So I don't think we have anybody to convince around here in that regard. I think all the countries in this region would agree with them.
Now, I don't think so. I think Iran is going to do everything in their power to gain more money from this. Here we have more of the fire from Salt Lake County. There's suspicion now that this was human-started, potentially a sabotage event.
The Starmer used to say that they have to milk Ukraine, and actually they didn't speak, they rather did. They did everything to make sure that Ukraine goes on and
Okay. Sorry, guys.
stop its terrorist activity.
I'm really trying not to like have to play the whole thing. Some of them I don't, that I won't, like the Patrick Humphrey videos. But the full spectrum, he just goes through so much that if I don't play the whole thing, you guys are gonna miss some things that are going on. So
Or shut down power, take out.
again, I apologize for springing this on you guys, but
change. And what Russia said was that they started pointing the blame at
Julie, baby,
the UK, and everybody in between. And they said, without you, Ukraine couldn't do this. And let me tell you something.
Mandy,
If you have a
here's my little baby that I've been feeding that I rescued from outside.
and you're out your fence, if some other guy that also hates you gave him the bulldozer, who are you going to blame? If he couldn't do it without the help of that other person, who are you going to blame?
Get out!
And that's what Russia is doing right now. They're starting to blame the United States of America and the United Kingdom. And that's where things get dangerous because they have said that if NATO gets involved, if America remains involved, or if the UK gets involved, then they're bringing their nuclear weapons to the table. And if we have nuclear war, and all those bunkers that they're building for all the millionaires and billionaires out there, well, they're really going to be put to hard use, aren't they?
Hi, Mandy.
Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not well prepared for a nuclear event, but I will be ready as much as I can be. And so I'm going to be.
It feels as though Islam is taking over the West. Would you agree?
Yeah, they are, inshallah. Soon, inshallah, soon all will be become Muslim.
Yes.
So we have multiple reports that there is what they are calling a Muslim-driven soft campaign to take over the Western world. And we're starting to see this really all over the country of the U.S. and we're starting to see it all over the world because they are bringing in, and here's Brooklyn.
Dollar Tree has this one that's got some white, really pretty white. Okay, of course.
Now you might say, okay, maybe they just overlaid this audio, but I'm seeing on social media reports all over from this particular street that at prayer calls every single day, the speakers ring out into the houses, into the buildings. Everybody is forced to hear the call to prayer. And you can see them zoom right in here on the religious gathering, the religious business place that has been placed here. And they're really shaping or reshaping the United States
Iran.
Rubio is being asked about the Iranians saying that absolutely not. The IAEA will not be involved.
The things they say, whatever their internal or domestic politics is, I guess they'll navigate it. But we know what they agreed to do, and now they either do it or they won't. And if they do, the process moves forward, and if they don't, the president will have some decisions to make.
So again, you see part of that honey trap that I've been talking about, that they are setting up Iran to be able to come to the table diplomatically or fight it out tooth and nail with every missile, jellyfish drone system, Chinese-backed technology, solid rocket fuel that's being shipped over from China and the freedom of navigation in the Strait of Hormuz. They will use every soldier to the last to fight this war. Exactly. The welcoming of 3 hostile activity around the country, the removal of American forces from allied countries to Iran and the Middle East. What position do we really have them backed up against the wall? You guys let me know, because I seem to be missing that picture. Look at how the Pakistanis work with the Iranians.
President of the Islamic Republic, honorable members of delegation from Iran, honorable members of, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum.
برادر محترم من رئیس جمهوری اسلامی ایران عالی ایران و ممبران هیئت عالی پاکستان.
I don't see any of these leaders coming over to the United States of America and saying, God bless America. But yet they go to Iran and they tell them, may God be with you in your country. I don't see them coming over to the USA and saying, may peace be with the United States of America and may God back the movement of the American military. Why? Why are we seeing a different picture start to evolve? Well, folks, I'm going to keep diving deep into that. Please make sure that you're subscribed here. Share this video offsite with friends and family, x.com, Facebook, and hype this video. From my family to yours, please stay safe and keep watch.
You stole my chair. Okay.
The war with Iran and the fragile ceasefire expected to be.
Not this one. So next one is actually, I think what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna get us through the full spectrum ones real quick.
I've got some
Breaking Russia attacking NATO. Might not have to let this whole one play.
European spy agencies and members of the Latvian government are reporting that they see indications that Russia is preparing military
That was the very next
provocations
one. I think
against.
I'm going to skip this one.
European spy agencies. Here we go. Good morning, everyone. I've got some breaking news here for you because we have to talk about what just happened in the Middle East. It has the potential to change the direction of this entire war and the region in just a matter of hours. Now, for the past couple of days, there's been a lot of optimism. Hormuz, or maybe.
All right, and after this one, I will go to the
This wasn't
Humphrey
a
videos.
Regime, and that the ceasefire framework was at least
No!
creating enough stability
Do
for
not get
commercial
up there.
shipping to start moving again. Maybe we would even get a cheaper gallon of gas here soon. But that was before Iran screwed up and they shot at cargo ships. From that second forward,
We'll get
everything
this
changed.
the live stuff
cargo ship was seen on
Tomorrow-
satellite
by
as well as
tomorrow.
maritime tracking imagery as it traveled through a southern route along the Omani coast. This is the exact same corridor that has become the preferred route, protected and coordinated by the United States of America and American allied partners. This was purposeful, and it was supposed to represent the safest way out of the entire Gulf region. Yet, according to the reports that are coming in, that did not matter to the country of Iran. They sent off multiple one-way attack drones locating the vessel anyway. Some were shot down and another one struck the ship, immediately putting one of the most important waterways on our entire planet right back into the reticle of destruction. Now, the response from the US side was almost immediate. CENTCOM did release a couple of images that showed the F-16 fighter jets already in the region on operation, carrying laser-guided rockets. These are weapons that are specifically suited to engage these types of drones, but that isn't all we saw. Hanging underneath the aircraft was the military's precision-guided bomb, the GBU-54. And when we saw that, I knew that from that moment forward, the American military has been preparing for something larger. That tells us that the aircraft is not limited to shooting drones out of the sky. And what it does is it also has the capability.
Hope you're doing all right, Mandy.
Locations directing those drones, Iranian targets, when that decision is made by CENTCOM. And within minutes, this wasn't just about defending a ship. It became a question about whether command and control facilities on the Iranian side themselves were now part of the target equation. And then we had the US President Donald Trump. He added another layer by announcing that American forces had won by intercepting 3 additional Iranian drones after one had already struck the cargo ship. Now, according to Donald Trump's statement, 4 different attack drones had been launched by the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps toward commercial shipping vessels. 1 successfully hit the vessel itself, and the other 3 were destroyed by the US military. But it looks like there could have been more attacks with this. I want you to listen right here as we have the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. They're warning all of these ships inside of the region that the entire Strait of Hormuz is closed.
Attention all vessels, attention all vessels, attention all vessels in on Oman Sea. This is secondary warning. Transiting in the Strait of Hormuz is only possible with secondary permission and on desired route. Our permission or AIS up or outside of the designated route is responsible for any consequences of any danger. This is the Navy out.
So that's the Iranian Navy saying that the Strait of Hormuz is all but closed except for the allowed route that is being presented to the entire world, not just to the region, but the entire world by the country of Iran. Now, the US president described this attack as a violation of the ceasefire agreement, and the vice president, J.D. Vance, he also made that declaration. And from that moment forward, the focus shifted away from whether this incident was happening and directly toward what will happen next. Now, this very well could be the beginning of something much larger that plays out in the Middle East. And we have seen that the country of Iran has been insisting that commercial vessels inside the region coordinate and get the allowance of its naval authorities to use the routes close to the Iranian coastline instead of the southern passage near Oman. They're doing this because Iran's fleet of small, fast attack craft are much more likely to operate effectively close to the Iranian shore. And the further away that commercial ships move away from the coast of Iran and in toward the coast, the easier they become to monitor, harass, or potentially militarily intercept. The southern corridor changes that effectiveness because it places those shipping vessels farther away from many of Iran's naval assets. And if ships start to avoid the protected southern route because of drone attacks, well, then Iran starts to gain what is seen politically as leverage.
Yeah, I was texting
The Strait
Chloe.
of Hormuz entirely. And what we do know at this time is that this
I
one
am going to try to
ceasefire
get
break
this out
carries
there.
consequences with it that are far beyond the damage to just that one cargo ship.
We still not have. We still don't
Almost
have very good
immediately,
internet connection
we
here.
witnessed
But
maritime insurance companies reassessing the risk, and that insurance is one of the reasons that the multi-billion-dollar lane was shut down to begin with. And every single shipping delay that we see affects the energy markets, the supply chains, and global trade altogether. So even if the Strait of Hormuz was to technically remain open, there's a lot of uncertainty as to whether the next ship will become the next target of the supreme leadership of Iran, and that will start to change shipping behavior. You don't have to sink a dozen ships or 10 ships or 15 ships just to disrupt the entire world's commerce. If you could just create enough fear that companies start to hesitate to either align themselves with the Iranian objective or to at least pay their tolls and dues, then Iran wins. Now, I'm also seeing that the military posture in the region is changing, suggesting that the United States of America might know that this has always been a failed attempt of diplomacy, and that the USA is actively and militarily preparing to re-engage with land leveling weaponry. We're seeing F-16 Block 50s and Block 52s remaining on patrol in the region. The Apache helicopters that are equipped with the longbow radar system and Hellfire missiles, they're providing another layer of protection against not just the
I do
drones,
still
but
have to get
also
out to the garden. I still haven't got that other garden
We
filled.
still have guided
I'm really
missiles,
hoping that I can get that
destroyers,
in, but
that are
we're probably going to end up having to
Aegis
use it as a
combat
fall
systems
garden,
that are
which is
operating
fine.
nearby, and the Eagles counter drone system is right now active. That system has laser guided rockets that destroy incoming drones at probably, I don't know, 10, 20% of the cost of putting a jet into the air. What this does is it gives CENTCOM a far more sustainable way to defend commercial tracking or shipping if these attacks continue. But it's without a doubt that the USA appears to be trying to walk a very narrow line, because we've already seen that there are clear military options available. But there are also growing economic reasons to avoid allowing Iran to let this situation spiral into a prolonged conflict that will shut down one of the world's more important, maybe even one of the largest energy waterways. One reason that this situation remains so delicate is that neither side, not the Iranians, not the Americans, appear very eager to negotiations, because either country does not want to appear weak. And every event like this, well, it walks us closer to doomsday. One drone strike against a commercial vessel obviously leads to more defensive patrols by the Air Force, more retaliatory. You have both that they're just responding to the other side's attacks. And then we see the clock keep moving towards doomsday. Commercial shipping starts to slow down, and every captain that is even thinking about entering into the strait, well, they have to start to wonder whether or not their vessel will be the next target. We are seeing reports indicate that more than 100 ships were able to successfully use the southern corridor, and this was just days before this attack took place. And that probably is a positive thing, because it shows that there's some confidence, or at least there was, returning to normal. And with a single move by an extremist government, and of course their military, well, that suddenly changed the momentum. Shipping companies reassess the progress. Some of them discussed the need for American rescue missions and operations. out. And they said, screw it, I'm going to go over to and start shipping. Insurance companies started to calculate their risk of sending billion-dollar cargo ships through waters that are obviously not
you
impervious
stop?
or even protected.
That's
from
enough.
attack. And as soon as that happened, the military that followed, described as proportional by J.D. Vance, showed that America is willing to meet violence with violence. Deep inside of Iran, we already saw them strike the
That's
storage
enough.
sites, drone storage facilities, and the coastal radar positions that are associated with attacks on shipping. And this suggests that there was an attempt to at least reduce the overflow of violence that was going to come from this. But Iran immediately spoke out and said that basically the ceasefire is dead. And with US President Donald Trump and J.D. Vance both aligning themselves with that same message, it's really only a matter of time until something much larger takes place. And we see more attacks on commercial navigation that will carry itself more consequences and a very violent weight. Well, folks, I'm going to keep scrolling so that you and your family don't have to. But while I gather this morning's survival tip, we're going to take a quick moment and hear from Chapter. This episode of Full Spectrum Survival is brought to us by you, the viewer, and by Chapter. One of the largest mistakes that families make is waiting too long to handle important things. Preparedness is not just about what is happening in the world right now. It's also about making sure that your family and the people that you care about are covered in the future. For many Americans, our group members included, Medicare planning is one of the largest and most stressful parts of that process. Chapter compares plans nationwide. They help simplify the system so that you and your family can make informed decisions without confusion. If you're already on the best plan, they're going to tell you. There's no pressure. It's completely free. Most calls take under 20 minutes, and you can call them at 610-900-40 or use the link below. I want to talk a little bit about water because it's a lot more important than just something that we need to drink to sustain our lives. If you think strategically, water is probably one of the most important survival tools that you have in your planning, whether it's rivers or creeks, maybe even just some ponds or lakes that you have nearby, even drainage canals. It influences transportation, water influences sustainability, and it influences your ability to survive a long duration event.
Get out!
It also provides opportunities for things like fishing, sanitation, irrigation. When evaluating where you're going to evacuate to, because that's really what this is coming down to. When evaluating where you're going to evacuate to, or your homestead, or your fallout location, or even fallback location,
Patches.
don't look at just whether or not it has water. Think about water shapes fights inside of the area, about how the terrain is supporting of agriculture or it is anti-agriculture. How you can produce food using that water, whether there's redundant sources, so if one stream dries up during part of the year, do you have access to another one? And what your planning is to be able to get the water from a general location back to your shelter. Water is life. Thank you guys for being here with us. Full Spectrum Survival on YouTube. Please share this video and hype it. Make sure you check back at 2 p.m. From my family to yours, stay safe and keep watch.
Okay, so
I know there's a lot of speculation out there about the.
I think that's the last full spectrum on this section. So we're gonna go into Patrick Humphrey, and I gotta find the National Guard. This one, and this one is from
has deployed thousands of
10 days
National
ago.
Guard members
So,
from
yeah.
multiple different states, and we are also having a warning from a federal memo that there could potentially be targeting of the America 250 event. All right, so let's get into all the details.
We have yet to hear on stuff like that. So
There was
I'll catch you guys. I'll keep you guys up to date on that as well.
UFC 250 event.
I'm gonna try to set up
See
a
thousands of National
normal
Guard troops
live
have been
time.
deployed. It says National Guard troop levels in DC surpass 4,600 as America 250 events pick up on the National Mall. So these numbers have ramped up significantly.
What do you
just in
call
the
a hen who
past
can count her own
weeks.
eggs?
They've deployed thousands more.
A mathema chicken.
They're saying here that as of Thursday, 4,629 National Guard personnel are now assigned to the district. That's up from roughly 2,500 in April.
Might start doing little
Closing in
shorts.
on the Trump
Jokes.
administration's stated goal of 5,000 troops. All right, so they are being deployed to help protect the America 250 event and the Great American State Fair that just kicked off as well on a national mall. So we've gotten warnings that this event could potentially be targeted. Let's hope this never happens. But you guys can see here, this is an article from earlier this year. Federal memo warns of possible soft target threats during America 250.
Would not mind
Philly
that.
concern.
That cook stove. I would love that wood
To
cook stove.
identify and combat
That one right there.
threats during the
Yeah, I would love that wood cook stove.
after an internal law enforcement memo identified Philadelphia as a possible soft
Okay.
target during
Um,
a busy summer. The National Counterterrorism Center has released a memo alerting security agencies nationwide to the possibility of soft target attacks ahead of the nation's 250th anniversary, naming Philadelphia among cities of concern. All right, so we had arrests just last week, people saying that they were targeting the America 250 UFC with drones. Okay, they wanted to attack it with drones, cause chaos, force people to run and leave, and channel people into certain areas, and then they were going to have snipers and things like that as well set up. That was the plan. Multiple people have been arrested. The ringleader for it was actually a Mexican national who is in the country. So very concerning. All right. And you know that tensions are high about this. All right. I even saw Joe Rogan joking about with Trump because he was at this UFC event. He was saying that he was joking around with Trump that, hey, hopefully we don't get hit by a drone attack while we're here. All right. Because they released a story that they arrested these people. But he was saying it doesn't happen, and Trump was saying, you know, if it happens, it happens. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But you know, Trump was just kind of saying, hey, if that's how I go out, that's how I go out. And apparently Joe Rogan was like kind of, you know, shocked by his answer, kind of, you know, not shocked, but just surprised by it, and thought it was kind of funny that Trump said that. And it says here, the center says that the city is of interest to those seeking to cause violence because of the numbers and scale.
Get out!
Host. Philadelphia is preparing for a summer season that is expected to bring an influx of visitors. Security agencies are preparing as well. Threat level is raised. It just is, said Jack Thomas Tamarchio, the former principal deputy Homeland Security, under intelligence. Quote, it doesn't mean you shouldn't go. It doesn't mean we're expecting an attack. It just means that we are on alert. All right, the FBI and stuff like that has said that there's no specific threat event here, but they are monitoring numbers for troops deployed. It's saying here of the 40 deployed in DC, 584 are from the DC National Guard. So the remaining 4,045 nearly 87% come from 23 states and territories. Georgia leads with 793 troops, South Carolina 691, Mississippi with 502. Nevada appeared for the first time in Thursday's numbers, contributing 132 troops. They're saying here that these National Guard troops can patrol and detain individuals, but under federal law, they cannot technically make arrests. So they can detain people and then get a federal law enforcement officer over there to actually make the arrest. They're saying here, an investigation in early June found that 1 in 3 arrests in the district is now being made by an agency other than the NPD, a sharp increase tied directly to the federal surge. Right, so that's pretty impressive that 1 in 3 arrests are now made by federal agencies, essentially. All right, so there's U.S. Park Police, there's Secret Service, there's National Guard members, there's ICE, there's all these different federal law enforcement officers that are there and have been deployed to lock down the area for the America 250 event. All right, so let me know down below if you guys are going to any of these events. I'm just like way too far away. I wish I could, but I'm not in a position to go.
Okay.
But I will definitely be celebrating America's 250th birthday at home.
Well, I don't know if anything actually happened. I think we have yet for those videos to come out, considering today's the 6th. I mean, if that was anything too bad, stuff would have been out probably yesterday. Depending. I don't know. We'll see. We're going to go back. And then the next one, warning issue
has
40
deployed thousands of
million people.
This is big breaking news.
He always starts his stuff
A
out.
massive warning has been issued for 30 to 40 million people inside the United States that a situation is coming.
Wow.
That could affect agriculture, affect your drinking water, affect power generation, affect almost everything in your life. Entire cities and portions of the country could become almost uninhabitable. So let's get into all the details here. You guys can see that this is the situation right now. This is a video that's coming out of Lake Powell. All right, I just saw this video today, and look how low the levels are. Water used to be up here at this boat ramp. That chunk of metal that's hanging off, that's a boat ramp previously for the lake. All right, and they had to build an entire new ramp because the lake is so low. All right, it's only at 23% capacity right now, and it's actually projected to reach a level where they are not going to have power and not going to have water even early in spring 2027. So you guys can see here, this is June 2026, most probable 24-month study. All right, this is coming from the U.S. Department of Interior. And look at this for Lake Powell. All right, they're warning that Lake Powell is going to reach a level early next year in spring where
I'm
they
gonna
no
apply
longer
a mark
generate
raising
power.
Mason.
All right, so I have it highlighted here. You guys can see these months. So once the lake gets below 3,490 feet of elevation, they can no longer generate power. All right, and currently it's only 37 feet above that right now. You guys can see the current levels, June. All right, so it's actually only 33 feet above that currently. It was 37 last month for May. Now for June, it's only 33. So it's very close. And once that happens, the hydroelectric power generation will stop, and there's going to be water restrictions. And if the water gets even lower, they won't even be divert any of the water from the dam to allow the water to continue down the Colorado River. All right, so the water will just kind of be stuck in Lake Powell until they are able to raise the water levels again. All right,
What?
so very concerning what's going on. This is going to
I don't
affect
understand what-
agriculture as well, crops, drinking water. So be on the lookout. Like water restrictions are coming. It's already happening in states like Colorado, New Mexico, Utah. I've been reporting on how certain
feel like I'm
local
never gonna
areas
get a
have
job.
implemented water restrictions, and even big areas like Denver, Colorado have water restrictions right now already currently. So this is not looking good for these southwestern states, especially. California heavily relies on it to grow their vegetable production in Southern California. Here's the main crops that are going to be impacted from this. Obviously, hay and alfalfa, right? Around 50% of all of the agricultural water from the Colorado River.
Okay, this is
is
like the
used
drought,
for hay.
the water that's drying up, the droughts, that kind of thing.
But agriculture actually uses like 70.
We're gonna have to start stocking up on water. I mean, even you guys, you have to start stocking up on like, especially distilled water, that kind of thing.
There could
I think what I'm gonna do is start buying like spring water that we can use to water our plants and stuff with.
because they're not going to be able
Uh,
water.
I might have to cover everything.
Use that to
Gotta-
water.
Gotta get that garden. I
And
need to
even
get some
golf
work done out in the garden today.
right? They use even more. But
I just feel really overwhelmed right now.
so hay's going to be affected. Cotton, all right. Arizona is a major producer of cotton that uses a ton of water as well. So we could see.
All right, guys, I'm gonna try to do something real quick.
Leafy greens going into the winter. We could see broccoli, lettuces, things like that, because fresh vegetables in the winters, Arizona and Southern California's Imperial Valley. We could also see fruit crops be affected, nuts, orchards, citrus, perennial crops, things like that are definitely going to be affected and potentially damaged. We could see wheat affected as well, corn, and specialty crops, onions, melons, things like that. All right, so this is going to put pressure on everyone, right? Even if you're not a part of this 30 to 40 million people that directly rely on this water for consumption and for electricity, everyone in the country relies on Southern California and Arizona to grow winter vegetables, right? So, I mean, a lot of these places are so hot you can't even grow in the summer, so they just grow in the winter there. So this is going to affect the entire country as well. And if the power shuts off, we most likely won't see like widespread blackouts or anything like that, but we could potentially see go up a ton. All right, that could definitely happen because it accounts for 10 to 20% of the electricity generation. Depends on where you are in Arizona or other states, but it generates a ton of electricity. 10 to 20%. Imagine that going offline to cope with it. But at the same time, there's all these data like that come online that need a ton of electricity as well that are putting more strain on the grid right now. So we're losing water, we're losing generation, but at the same time we're industrializing and we need a lot more power.
Wow.
Right? So that's kind of
Trying to order or trying to apply at Marco's in Mason and can't get it to come up.
there's no snow. There's no snow on any of the mountains near me. It's been gone for, weeks at this point. And even then, it was like barely anything. It's just kind of
That's
been
terrible.
tiny little patches that are remaining. So the snow is gone, water levels are low, creeks are drying up
We're in trouble, you guys. We're
around me. They're
gonna have to get some water, rainwater collection barrels.
all this water.
We're also gonna have to be prepared for when we can't use the rainwater,
Everything and eventually
because eventually that's gonna happen.
like the Colorado or the Gunnison, which are the biggest flows.
No,
Like the Arkansas River as well, Colorado. So
bad.
a lot of these sources are
Green, what are you doing?
dry. Tony, there's no snow. We're getting some rain, a little bit of rain here and there, but it's not enough to fill up and sustain these lakes and reservoirs, right? And it's happening all over the West where they are draining these reservoirs and all the fish are dying too. Millions and millions of fish that they've stocked for years, some of them decades. And they are now just draining these reservoirs. There's multiple ones in Colorado. I can't remember the names off the top of my head, but they're draining them and all the fish are going to die. So they're just letting people fish as much as they want to catch the fish and eat them or do whatever they want. So
no,
because they're just going to
away.
Right. So there's no limit. So looking at that, it's happening all over the West. I saw, I think happening in Utah and Wyoming as well. This same type of situation where they're draining reservoirs and the fish are going to die and fish as much as you want. So look into that if you're into that. But it's not looking good. People's wells are also tapping out and drying up. I Braden as well out west, certain areas and communities. It's only June. And people's wells are already drying up. Sometimes this happens later in the year before the fall snow or anything like that hits. Sometimes people's wells are drying.
Please get off
They're already drying up in June now. All right, so definitely a dire situation. Right, I don't know what they're gonna do with lower. It's gonna kind of make some of these areas, right? I mean, there's only it's a in the summertime, and I remember reporting on even in the winter, like earlier this year, they had a massive heat wave, and it was 110 plus.
Sorry, you guys.
Winter times there, so mix that with
Stupid cat.
not having
What is
reliable
wrong?
power or water. It really becomes dire very quickly, right? And another issue too is a lot of these alfalfa and hay have been bought up, especially in places like Arizona and the Southwest. They've been actually bought up by foreign investors, like countries in the Middle East or countries in Asia. They will buy up this farmland here and just pump the wells dry, just producing a ton of alfalfa. And then they also ship it back to their country, right? Because they can't grow there. There's too many water restrictions, and there's just not enough water at all to even grow it there. So they grow a ton of alfalfa here and then ship it back to their country. So they're kind of draining our water and our, soil, our biomass, and just shipping it off somewhere else. That definitely depletes the water, and it doesn't even get put back, at least when it's, the cows eating it. A lot of it gets put back from the cows, from their, from them going to the bathroom, things like that on the ground. A lot of it gets put back. But when you just ship it straight out, that's just kind of, like strip mining in an agricultural way, especially at the Southwest. So let me know what you guys think down below. Hope you guys are staying safe, staying prepared, staying stocked up, staying ready.
Hi.
make sure you have, like a alternative source.
What
are you watching?
Oh, I had one of the videos up.
This is big breaking news. A massive
At the same time, so.
Don't like walk texting.
No, especially when I'm like so tired I can hardly sleep my head.
I'm sorry.
Not sleeping at night.
I'm sorry, Chloe.
I figured out why this morning. It's just
Why?
I'm excited
Yeah.
because I'm gonna be seeing my family again next week. I'm gonna be seeing you. I'm gonna be seeing Aaron. I'm gonna be seeing.
Listen, the honey frog.
You're gonna be seeing who?
Turn it down or something.
Oh, it was. I'm like trying to go through and find a specific video, and it does that if you sit on it for like a second.
No, because of it, like my dad telling me that Uncle Adam is gonna be there with Grandma. Like, I'm excited about that, so I get to see them.
Right.
Pretty sure
Major
she's
US
gonna
weather.
be there, so I get to see her.
Right.
See
So stuff coming in, new videos of what happened in Venezuela.
Right.
Folks, it's some people are projecting over 100,000 people. Not looking good. And get this, might not be want to be looking so close in the neighbor's yard. Michigan legalizes religious animal sacrifices at the home. What is going on? Also coming out, federal study found glyphosate in 81% of Americans. The water, the food, I got more on that. This thing is turning widespread. Searing heat dome and an extreme fire threat are expected as major U.S. weather pattern changes. This is unfolding right now. Already have places like Utah declaring a state of emergency as massive wildfire spread. You won't believe how many millions of acres have already burned this year. We've got a lot happening right now you guys probably want to know about coming right up. Folks, I owe you guys another news drop with what's happening right now. Again, if you guys appreciate me digging into this kind of stuff and keeping you guys up to date, start this off with a thumbs up. Do me a favor, let me know down in the comments what part of the news or what's happening in the world has really got your attention. Now, this is video of a fisherman out in the ocean watching Venezuela turn into a cloud of dust. Can you imagine watching your city fall to the ground while you're sitting out here in a fishing boat?
Over 900 people are dead and tens of thousands are still missing in Venezuela after following two massive earthquakes on Wednesday. Crews from the U.S. arriving in the devastated country yesterday to assist in relief efforts. Chanley Painter joins us now with the details. Good morning, Chanley.
Hundreds of U.S. search and rescue specialists have been sent to Venezuela. Quakes claimed the lives of at least 900 people. More than 3,300 others are injured. 51,000 are missing. The Pentagon has sent transport satellite imagery of devastated areas to relief planners.
We're helping Venezuela. They had a tremendous earthquake in Caracas, and we have a lot of people over there helping.
There are also more than 860 volunteers from at least a dozen countries around the world. Massive scale of this disaster. The United Nations is sending 1,000 emergency in 25 search and rescue teams who are also on their way. And as of this morning, authorities 143 people working around the clock. And this is video of firefighters giving a trapped dog water before digging it out of the rubble to save. And yesterday, another 4.7 earthquake was reported off the Venezuelan coast, guys.
I don't know if you guys saw some of those buildings, but this is like a city that gets just leveled. Can you imagine watching buildings just collapsing? Huge story buildings. This guy happened to watch buildings collapsing across the way, had to run down a flight of stairs, 10 flights, wondering if he was going to make it before the building crumbled.
Yeah.
This guy is watching buildings collapsing and he's running down the stairs as fast as he can. 10 flights. He's got to go 10 flights. I'm not counting, but he is moving. Wow. Look, you've already got part of the building just falling apart. How scary would that be? Probably only halfway. And I think I heard that this building actually fell down and he may have made it just in the nick of time. That's kind of what the word on the street was with this video. Oh, Lori gets worse looking. And you can hear all the people in the background. I mean, there's people everywhere. Reports of over 50,000 people already being reported missing. And you know what those numbers do with time? Some people are suggesting that this thing could pass 100,000 by the time it's done. Weather events, these articles just out hours ago. A widespread storm settles over the U.S. this week. And look, I called this information just a few days ago. They're talking about a Godzilla El Nino. In these two videos, watch them if you guys missed them. But if this thing turns into a super El Nino, look at what happened in 1877. And this thing is showing all the indications that it could be a lot worse. Folks, I'm talking about farms being lost, food insecurity, power issues, water issues, like a lot of people crossing fingers, but a lot of signs saying this is going to be pretty bad. And it's not even here yet. And look what we're dealing with. It says that this heat dome will bring dangerously hot and humid conditions to the eastern half of the United States this week in the region's most widespread heat wave of the summer so far. A little bit more, the heat dome is building in response to the large shift in the jet stream. That's also bringing a big pull down on the west. Did you hear that? I mentioned it the other day. Expecting snow while other parts are getting torched by fires and droughts. That is exactly part of the signs and shapes and looks of a super El Nino, super bipolar. 1 minute you got a tornado, next minute you got a hurricane, next minute you got a drought, next minute you got a flood. They're saying that there's going to be powerful winds, which is already going to intensify the already dangerous fire weather conditions. Look at this, folks. Absolutely nuts. Several locations well above 100 degrees. And some of these areas don't get to experience those type of temperatures. If you're trying to stay cool, I'm going to teach you guys how to make one of these at home. It doesn't cost you a thing. I'll put a link to that video when it comes out right in the description and the pinned comment. Be sure to watch it. It might be a lifesaver. But for those of you guys in this region, places will peak as high as 115 degrees. That is an emergency situation that you guys need to be prepared for. Otherwise, it could leave you in harm's way. We're probably going to have brand new fires. Watch out for that. And for fires that have already started, we're already getting warnings like this. Utah declares state of emergency as massive wildfire spreads across the state. And real quick, because it's that time of year, and I know you guys need something to be protected, I have an emergency measure. These guys right here, super inexpensive, and you probably should pick one up. In fact, at this size and this price, you might want to pick up a 5-pack. Give them to your friends. Have one in the car and have one in the house. But this type of emergency sleeping bag can protect you in a fire, and it can also protect you in the cold when you're trying to stay alive in the winter. So it's got a multi-purpose. I'll put a link for those down in the description and comment for you guys as well, in case you haven't got one. I've got more to cover here. Hang with me. We've got a federal study found glyphosate in 81% of Americans. It's in the water. It's in the food. The question is, should we be worried? Let's take a listen on what this doctor has to say.
And so not only is glyphosate everywhere, it's in the water supply and everywhere, but the food we're eating is different because it's been genetically modified.
Right.
And so there's been some studies now, the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey, which is a federal study, shows that 81% of us have glyphosate in us. If we did a urine test, we have this stuff in us. And the question is, do we worry or do we not? It's so ubiquitous. Well, there's been some studies in people with massive exposure to glyphosate, which is people working with crops and spraying, working with the Roundup.
Right.
And there is an increased risk of lymphoma. It's not a huge increased risk, but there's some, and it's probably to the point where it's legit.
They're saying the National Health a federal study found glyphosate in the urine of people. 1% of people tested. It is that ubiquitous. For people with massive occupational exposure, crop workers, Roundup applicators, there is a documented increased risk of lymphoma. It's not just a huge increased risk, but it's real and reviewed. This post says the herbicide is in the food supply because the food has been genetically modified to tolerate it. That's the chain. Most Americans have no idea it's inside. It makes you wonder how many lawsuits there will be, right? Like there's probably going to be a lot of claims, a lot of important people, affects nearly everything. But how does that work out when this article just landed? Supreme Court blocks thousands of Bayer lawsuit over weed killer and the big C word risk. Says Washington, the Supreme Court on June 25th blocked thousands of lawsuits over the weed killer Roundup, ruling that the manufacturer can't be sued for failing to warn people that the popular product might cause the big C answer, the big word cancer. They're saying that Roundup users that have developed that illness cannot sue by claiming the weed killer violates state laws about dangerous products. So we went over a lot of stuff that finds this stuff in the food, in the water. That reminds me, all those bioengineered ingredients, all of the cheap synthetic ingredients that they're throwing in everything that we use on a daily basis. Remember, if you're looking for a safer place to shop, American Made Non-Toxic, you guys can check out the store that I switched to, link in the description. I can give you more information on that towards the end of the video, but check this out. This has got people really tripping out. This should never be allowed in America is what this post is saying. Look, if you've got kids in the backyard, you might not want to have them looking into the neighbor's backyard if you live in Michigan. They're legalizing religious animal sacrifice at home. It says all Muslim city council votes to allow residents to sacrifice goats and sheep at the home. Not sure I ever thought I would see that in America, but some people are. Oh, it looks like I missed this one. Another big headline. No safe way to use it. State bans controversial weed killer amid Parkinson's alarm. I'm telling you, this stuff is just surfacing everywhere. Vermont has become the first U.S. state to ban paraquat, a widely used and highly toxic herbicide, with lawmakers citing concerns about the potential link to Parkinson's disease. Advocates are calling the move a major milestone that could push other states to follow suit in efforts to reduce exposure to neurological disorder and affects about 1 million Americans and progressively impairs movement. It's getting wild out there. To top it off, let's go over these 4 fast foods that if you do this, you might not ever eat them again. Check this out.
These 4 fast food items should terrify you. The first one, Subway tuna. No one wants to eat that. First of all, I'm not eating that. But second of all, independent labs could not identify any fish DNA inside the tuna. Horrifying. Not a single ounce of fish DNA.
Get a tuna sub at Subway and they couldn't find a speck of seafood fish. Little alarming, right?
It's just like a McDonald's burger is like 30% beef. Yeah, but not, there's no fish DNA. Yeah, so it's, what is it? It's just fake tuna. Fake tuna. That's disgusting. You should be terrified of the Starbucks Frappuccino.
I used to drink the Frappuccinos, guys. Don't anymore. I know it's a sugar load and a half, and I'm sure that's where they're going.
Me too. It's delicious. I would rip one right now. It has more sugar than 3 Snickers bars.